Chris Weidman says that he's making one more run at the UFC middleweight title. Weidman is currently still recovering from his leg injury that he suffered in his fight against Uriah Hall back in April of 2021. However, he plans to return this June. On the MMA Hour, Weidman said, "I'm not coming back to be a B-rated fighter or a gatekeeper or anything like that. I went through all this hell not to just come back and be like that. I'm going to come back and try to get back what is mine, try and get that belt." After analyzing these guys and watching the middleweight division these last 2 years, with everyone at the top of the division, I don't think there's any reason why I can't beat those guys. I'm excited to work my way up and get there soon. I have a lot of work to do, and I'm excited for the challenge. I'm not putting myself through this crap just to come back and fight some guys that I know I can beat or have a big name fight. I'm trying to shock the world again. There's not going to be too many people that are thinking I can come back, and that excites me. It puts a chip on my shoulder. What do you guys think about Weidman getting the belt back? Do you think it's possible? Post your opinions in the comments. Khamzat Chimaev says he's targeting a fight with Robert Whittaker because Colby Covington didn't want to fight him. Speaking of Red Corner MMA, Khamzat said, "I have no clue either. At first they said it was Colby Covington. We've been waiting for a half a year. It looks like he doesn't want it. They all call me out, but as soon as the UFC tries to make the fight, they start running. I think it's going to be the winner of Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3. Whoever takes it will face me. I think I will fight Robert Whittaker. He's got no opponent. Paulo Costa ran away after talking that much about me and Robert, so I will fight Whittaker. I want this fight. Although I like him as a human being, he's a solid guy. Doesn't trash talk, doesn't cross any lines. We are going to have fun at the press conference and fight each other." Michael Bisping and Anthony Smith on the Believe You Me podcast give their takes on why Derrick Lewis has been so unsuccessful in his last few fights. Derrick is currently on a 3-fight losing streak. He got knocked out by Tai Tuivasa in the second round back in February of 2022. He lost to Sergey Pavlovich via TKO in the first round back in July. And most recently this past weekend, he was defeated by Sergey Spivak via arm triangle choke in the first round. Anthony Smith says Derrick is predictable, which is the worst thing you can be at the highest level of mixed martial arts.
Evolution is the perfect way of putting it, Mike. It's not changing his game. You got to add to it. And the worst thing that you can be in the UFC, especially at the highest level, is predictable. If people can predict what you're going to do, they can. It doesn't matter how dangerous you are. It doesn't matter how good you are at jiu-jitsu. Damian Maia, I have so much respect for him and his style and his game. But you knew exactly what he was going to do. So guys like Colby, guys like Tyron, guys like Gilbert Burns, the cream of the crop, those guys are going to be able to prepare for even if you're the best in the world at it, you're predictable. So if you can figure out the path, you can figure out a way around it. And that's kind of where Derrick is at right now. I think he's predictable. People know exactly what he's going to do. They know exactly what he's not going to do. And I think that's just what it is. If he can add to it and be a little bit, bring some surprises to the game, maybe back down on the level of competition just a little bit to get his mojo back. I love me some Derrick Lewis.
I think that's what he thought in his mind he was probably doing. However, when you look at Spivak, he's got a habit of doing that. Tuivasa, Greg Hardy, Derrick Lewis, and there's a few others as well.
He's crazy strong. I was right there ringside when he fought Greg Hardy, and like that's a big man. He had no problem manhandling him. I mean, that is he doesn't look like much, but he is just his physical strength and ability to move a body is second to none.
Ahead of Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane next month, Jon recently said his sights are still set on Stipe Miocic. Jon also discussed recently re-signing with the UFC. On Dana White bumping up his paycheck, Jon said, "Oh yes, he sure did. I had 8 fights left on my contract. I just wasn't happy with my percentages. We just bumped up the pay and pretty much picked up where we left off with my commitment to the UFC. Hopefully I can get through all 8 fights. That's a lot of fighting at 35 years old. We'll see. I've got my sights set on Stipe Miocic. I think it just means the most. There's a lot of guys out there, but for me personally, for my legacy, to defeat the greatest heavyweight of all time, it just means the most to me. As far as how soon, hopefully I get out of this fight with no serious injuries, but I'd like to get back out there as soon as possible. My goal is anywhere from 2 or 3 fights depending on how it looks. One of the hardest things was not being able to lose my shape while still trying to pack on 40 pounds. I think when the fans see me, they'll be surprised that I still look a lot like I used to, although my shoulders are a lot more broader. I freaking gained a whole bunch of ass, unfortunately, but just trying to keep that shape up, doing it the right way." Sean O'Malley says the UFC is targeting Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo for May, and if they can't get the fight booked, Sean will fight Henry.
He's in the octagon, he looks shredded, the lights, he cuts weight, but just like in person walking by, I'm like, he doesn't look huge. But he said he's 167.5. That's like what a normal size featherweights probably walking around at 67, 70. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're supposed to fight in May. I do not think they're going to push it back any further. Supposed to be in March. Supposed to be in April. Now it's supposed to be in May. UFC said this is it. Like, it's going to be in May or it's I'm fighting Henry. Because
it happens in May. So it happens in May, then we're 2 months away from July.
If they want the money fight, they got. I'm fighting in July. I want to.
Fighting something.
That's what I think the UFC wants to. They want me an international fight week.
And who knows? Just very good chance it could be Corey or Cheeto.
I don't get Aljamain, dude. It's got to be the weight cut, right? Because for him to say that there's no challenge in the division is ridiculous. This dude's the challenge, and not only is he the challenge, he's the money fight.
I can't tell. I can't tell half the time if Alzo's trolling or if he's just a weird dude. Because he's at the UFCs and like, even in Abu Dhabi, saying, "Hey, let's get with you and like let's get a picture." And
He's a nice kid.
is he?
Seems like it. Seems just like a nice dude, normal
Yeah.
dork like all of us.
Yeah, I don't know if he's trolling half the
I don't
time.
get it.
But it's his best buddy's Merab, so he's probably like, I'm going to give Merab a chance.
Ciryl Gane says that he is not concerned about Jon Jones' grappling capabilities ahead of UFC 285. Gane said he made some mistakes against Francis, but they worked on it and he's confident going into this fight against Jon. Speaking in Middle Easy, Ciryl said, I think he has a better wrestling game, of course, but I think I have some strengths that are better than him. It's going to be a game, a real game. We are going to try to impose our style. He's going to try to impose his style against mine. It's going to be a great fight. He has a good fight IQ and me too. So that's really interesting and I like to play that. We are really not afraid about that. A lot of people talk about the wrestling game of Francis, but it was more about the power. But we did make some mistakes against Francis. That's why after this fight we did really great work at the gym, and now we are confident about that. Conor McGregor recently posted this photo to his Instagram, promoting his new Apple Proper 12 whiskey. Urijah Faber left a comment saying, I call this one the Cantaloupe Perch. Conor fired back saying, if you hold your chin like that, your fingers would dip into it. And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post future ones. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. These comments are in reference to Khamzat Chimaev calling out Robert Whittaker. The first one says, I'd rather have Colby versus Khamzat. The press conference and fight would be insane. The second one says, Bobby Knuckles shrugging and laughing, yeah, alright then. And the final one's from Martin. It says, I like Khamzat, but if he wanted that fight, he could have stepped in a few weeks earlier instead of Costa and saved that 284 card. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured on the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. If you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen to get caught up. And make sure to go subscribe to our second channel where we post our exclusive MMA interviews.